Hi everyone, this is Erica with Aurora Heart Healing here. Again, it's been a little while. It's been a couple of weeks. I've been crazy busy with my Healing in Harmony event, but I'm very, very happy about how it's going. It's coming along amazingly. And there's so many different people that are coming to collaborate, which is just beautiful. Today, I want to talk about vulnerability. Vulnerability. What is it that it means to each person? It means a lot of different things. A lot of people think vulnerability is something to be scared of, something that you don't want to do because it leaves you open for attack. It means that you can be hurt, you can be your vulnerabilities can be weaponized. But I've also realized in my life, because I used to be one of those, vulnerability is bad, don't do it, it's horrible. I used to be one of those people that thought that way. And the more that I started learning about how vulnerability impacts and actually helps my life, the more that I started to see that the fear of vulnerability was keeping me from being vulnerable. And there's a few things. I'm gonna grab something real quick here. So the definition of vulnerable is susceptible to physical or emotional attack or harm. Being vulnerable, susceptible to attack or harm. And that plays along with what it was I was saying earlier, is that vulnerability has been shown or is being portrayed as something that we should be scared of. When in fact, community is built through vulnerability. Don't agree? Maybe, maybe not. I would like to hear from you. But vulnerability is actually something that really opens our hearts to each other and says, hey, you matter, or what you said hurt me, or I miss you. Because that can be a very vulnerable thing to say too. Saying, I miss you. I miss the conversations we've had. I miss your presence as a person. And vulnerability is something that in my work, I try to teach people how to be. And the way that I do it is I say vulnerable moment here and I go off with a story. Some of the stories that I tell can be very personal and very intimate. And I wonder what it would be like for the other person to not know that I've been there. Vulnerability to me is shared experience. It is sharing that, hey, you're hurting, I've hurt too. We're all human together. Vulnerability is showing that we can and are human and we can hold each other's hand through some of the most deep and intimate pains that we can have. Of course, there are some people that might not be the best to share our vulnerabilities with. I understand that. But when we block ourselves from being vulnerable with the people that are worth that vulnerability, that will protect and hold that vulnerability sacred, then we're not allowing others, those people in. There are so many different types of people. And if we just hide away from every single person because we're scared of them hurting us, then we don't really open ourselves up to the actual plethora of people, the variety of people in the world that would actually hold space and see your vulnerability as something that is sacred and that they want to share with and be there for and support you in. Vulnerability is being like a little child and saying, I want to sit in your lap and just be held. And what's more sweet and what's more innocent than that? I don't know. Being vulnerable is an important part of our lives that we have really neglected for a long time because fear, because the thought of scarcity, that there's not enough people out there that will respect our vulnerability, that want to listen to us. And the excuses can go on forever as to why we're not vulnerable with each other. But the fundamental message through vulnerability is that I am here with open hands. It's interesting because in Asian culture, and don't quote me, I'm not remembering exactly where this is from, but they said that the reason why people would shake each other's hands is because they wanted to show that there was no danger, there was no dagger. They were pretty much saying, here you go, here's my vulnerability. And it's interesting to me because I go and I usually hug people when I first meet them. And I hug because I want to share how open my heart is to everyone. And even when it's hard, vulnerability moment, I find it hard sometimes to be vulnerable with people, but it's something that takes courage too. Vulnerability is a courageous act. It's brave to be open and honest and vulnerable with someone else. And I know I'm saying the word a lot, but I really want this to sink in as what exactly it is. It is something that leaves us open, and another person can attack that vulnerability. Yes. But another person can also look at it and say, oh my God, I can be open too. I can be vulnerable too. I can share my pain and I can share it with another person. I can divide that pain by talking about it, lessen that pain, process it, maybe even get a new opinion or a different mindset or view on it. Because sometimes we just need to hear that someone else has a different way of seeing it. So today, I hope that you practice being vulnerable. Maybe you're vulnerable with yourself at first. What is it that hurts? What is it that feels inside you? Are you feeling happy and excited? Are you fearful of going after that new job that you really, really want, but you're kind of scared of because you might think you're underqualified? Being vulnerable opens the door for others to see who you are. Maybe they want to help. So open your heart today. Be vulnerable. Be vulnerable first with you. Be vulnerable with the person that you care about the most, that you trust the most in the whole wide world. Tell someone you miss them. Tell someone that maybe they've hurt your feelings. Maybe you don't say anything at all and tell yourself what you feel, so that you can gain a deeper understanding with who you are and what you want in this world and in this life. It doesn't mean you have to go and attack people. It doesn't mean that you have to be laid out dry, but it does mean, hey, Erica, you're hurting right now, and I want to listen. So listen to your own hurts, listen to your own vulnerabilities. And then maybe it'll be time for you to open up and be vulnerable with another person as well. I hope that today, vulnerability is not a scary thing. It is something that someone wants to hold with grace and be gentle with and loving. Let's start being a vulnerable world together. Thank you, everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Erica from Aurora Heart Healing out.